Do you really own the games that you buy, and is it important that you do? In this episode, we will try to tackle the issue of game ownership and look at why it is slowly becoming inevitable that consumers will no longer truly own video games like they once did. Video games might be a modern entertainment medium, but in some ways, this industry moves slower than other entertainment media. For example, movies, music, and books were faster to adopt digital media compared to video games. Prices have increased steadily in other industries, but for video games, the maximum retail price of games was $60 globally for several decades, before finally moving up to $70 in the 2020s. Similarly, people have gotten used to the idea of using streaming services for watching movies or listening to music, and not really owning any of that content. You still have the option to buy those media, and a lot of people still do. But the more popular method of consuming that content is through streaming services, where you are not in control of what content is available and for how long. But ownership is still a big deal in the world of video games. People spend hundreds of dollars to buy costly premium editions of games just to collect physical media related to those games. This is in the form of steelbooks, soundtrack discs, stickers, posters, and whatnot. Even the standard editions of most games, which come in a simple plastic box, are traded constantly in the used games market even today. Apart from the benefit of reselling the games when needed, people like buying physical media because it gives them the satisfaction of owning that product. A common fear associated with digital purchases is that if your account is lost or banned for some reason, you lose access to all your games. Whereas with a disc, you can just create a new account and play the game on that account instead. But if you look at the statistics, we can notice that most people buy games digitally, and those who buy discs are in the minority. Obviously, these statistics cannot track the used games market, so we don't know for sure how many people are sticking to physical media entirely, but the trends do indicate that more and more people are preferring the digital route these days, if only because it is convenient to access your games at any time without having to deal with multiple discs. The days of swapping discs every hour because you feel like playing something else are now truly over. Alright, so if digital media is winning, what else do we have to talk about regarding game ownership? There's this constant fear that the publishers have the power to cut off access to a game anytime they want. These fears are valid because, after all, a lot of today's modern games are run on servers maintained by the developers or publishers, and they will turn off these servers whenever it doesn't make financial sense to continue running them. However, we are yet to see servers being turned off for a lot of games unless the game's reception was so bad that they absolutely had to be shut down. Consider games like Anthem and Marvel's Avengers. These games had a pretty poor reception, and in the case of the Avengers game, you can no longer actually buy it. But the servers for both games are still active and will continue running for the foreseeable future. So at least when talking about games that constantly require an online connection, the fears about game ownership are somewhat valid. You only own a license to play these games as long as the servers are on. After a certain amount of time, whether it is 10 years or 100 years, those servers will be turned off and you will no longer be able to play the game. What about games that don't require you to be constantly online? Surely there are no fears about ownership for such games. Not entirely. To put it simply, these games will work as long as the platform supporting those games is in business. That means platform holders like Valve, Xbox, and PlayStation need to be up and running so that all your purchases with them remain active and you don't lose access to your games. While the future is unpredictable, it is a safe assumption that the biggest platform holders of our time will stick around for a few years, probably a few decades at least. All this is to say that losing access to your game is a problem that your future self may or may not have to worry about. In the present, however, you can enjoy access to your games whether you have bought them outright or get them through a subscription. Which is why I often try to persuade my friends not to worry about game ownership. If there's a game available through a subscription at a fraction of the price, get the game and play it when you still have interest to play it. If you buy a game during a sale, it is more likely that you will forget all about it and it will remain unused. But what if you want to play the game later and it is not available at that time on a subscription service? In those cases, we know very well that game sales happen very frequently, and all you need to do is wait for the next sale, which will likely happen in a few weeks at any given time. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that everyone should only use subscription services and not buy games at all. At the end of the day, how you choose to spend your money is up to you. If you're someone who prefers to buy every game they play, that's your choice. If you like collecting expensive collector's editions, that's your choice, as long as your wallet is okay with it. But if your goal is to be smart about your time and money, then all I'm recommending is that you look into the benefits of accessing a game through a subscription service first, instead of letting the concept of game ownership trick you into buying something you don't really need. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.